Good afternoon to all present here. We will begin the special assembly with a school prayer led by 𝗔𝗕𝗢𝗡𝗃𝗧, the school captain.
Please bow your heads. O dear Good Shepherd, make our school a home away from our home. Make us always feel that we all belong to a family and that the teachers are like our parents. We believe that you speak through them when we listen to them. Give more wisdom to all concerned with us so that they may guide us always on the right path. Make us know your presence and power by rewarding and punishing us. Let us not become proud when we are rewarded, and let us not become humiliated when you punish us for our mistakes. Give us enough strength to forget and forgive as you forgive us our sins. We thank you for the showers of blessings on the school, for its growth and progress into a big and a good school. Give us everything to make our lives in this school a happy one. This we ask for your love's sake. Amen.
All are requested to join in singing the school song, Hail Good Shepherd, our alma mater. Please be seated. We are gathered here today to honor our late headmaster, Mr. Victor Selvin. On this special occasion, I extend a warm welcome to our co-founder and Senior Vice President, Mrs. 𝗖𝗛𝗢𝗧, President, Mr. 𝗔𝗕𝗢𝗡, Senior Vice President, Student and Staff Welfare, Mrs. Sarah Jacob, Principal, Dr. 𝗪𝗓𝗡 Saraswat, coordinators, staff, and students. To grace this occasion, we have in our midst Mr. Noel Philip, son of Mr. Victor Selvin, an automite, co-curricular prefect, an excellent athlete, and an all-rounder, who belongs to the batch of 2003. Mr. Noel Philip is a strategy and operations manager in Google Singapore. He is here with his wife Tess and children. We also have with us Noel's friends and Shepherdians, Mr. Arun Kumar, who is a businessman and owns Bhairavi Textiles, and Mr. Sivasantosh, owner of AKC Plastration Company that manufactures PVC pipes. Both graduated from grade 10 in the year 2001. I also extend a very warm welcome to Mr. V. Kalyan-Ram and Mrs. Anila Ann Matthew. This assembly is special to those who worked very closely with Victor Sir. For me, this is indeed very special for two reasons. One, the year I joined, Victor Sir identified and chose me to be one of the MCs for the inter-house annual athletic meet. I was worried and I told Sir, I don't know how it is done here, I'm apprehensive. Sir stood in front of the announcer's desk and guided me through every stage of the opening ceremony. He stood as a pillar of support. I learned from Sir, and today I'm into my 23rd year of being an MC for various school functions and special assemblies. I owe it all to Victor Sir. And the second reason is Noel Philip, a student of my first batch. I did not have the opportunity to teach him math because he opted for psychology, but I was his class teacher for a year, and I'm seeing him after 20 long years. To the rest who are eager to know more about Victor Sir, you will get to know how talented and adorable he was as a person in the course of this assembly. We will begin with a video which will share the profile of Victor Sir. I sincerely appreciate Mr. Ajay, the photographer, for this nostalgic video because it brought back quite a few fond memories to me. And I know it is much more for those who collaborated closely with Sir on many occasions for years. We will now hear from them. I invite Mr. 𝗔𝗕𝗢𝗡𝗡𝗟 to the stage.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I present to you Mr. Victor Selvin, as I knew him. We are here to celebrate the man and the myth, that is Mr. Victor Selwin, the former headmaster of this school. He was a remarkable individual who left an indelible mark in our lives and the institution that we hold dear. Victor Sir, as most of us fondly called him, lived a life that can only be described as selfless and dedicated. He wore many hats, literally and figuratively, and seamlessly steered through various roles and responsibilities, not just as a headmaster, but also as the navigator of the co-curricular activities, the mastermind behind the Founders Day program, the architect of our academic calendar, and even the organizer of vacation travel and escort services. He embraced these roles with passion and integrity, selflessly giving his all for the betterment of this institution and the students under his care. Beyond his role as an educator, Victor Sir was a learned gentleman and a voracious reader. He had an uncanny ability to describe England and its landscape, even though he had never set foot there. His knowledge, gathered from writings of Thomas Hardy and other authors and poets, would transport us to a world far away, sparking our imagination and igniting a thirst for knowledge. His vocabulary was such that students had to go refer to the dictionary to understand what he told them in his office. It would have been really interesting to watch a conversation between Shashi Tharoor and Victor Sir. Founders Day was a testament to Victor Sir's dedication and meticulousness. With a Coke bottle in one hand and a mic in the other, he ensured that every detail was perfected. A raging temper would arise if anyone dared to deviate from instructions, for he was a taskmaster who demanded precision. Under his guidance, every Founders Day became a resounding success, a celebration of students' achievements. Music was another avenue through which Victor Sir connected with his students. He could discuss the compositions of Mozart, Beethoven, and Tchaikovsky with the same ease as he would discuss the works of Shakespeare, Chaucer, Tennyson, or Keats. His skills on the guitar and harmonica made Children's Day a memorable experience. And whenever he took the stage, he captivated us, showcasing his talent and love for music. What set Victor Sir apart was his ability to give us challenging tasks with no handbook on how to conquer it. He believed in our abilities, even when we thought we had none. Trusting us unconditionally, he would send us on escort duties, expecting us to rise to the occasion. Like the first time, he sent me as escort to Mumbai, and then Kolkata, and then to Ranchi for my wedding, only to have me back in school within a week. It was a test of character, resilience, and time management, a challenge that made us stronger. But it was a spirituality that Victor Sir truly shone. Like Bonnie M's Rasputin, he could preach the Bible like a preacher, full of ecstasy and fire. His message touched our souls, instilling in us a sense of purpose and a moral compass to guide us through life's challenges. In many ways, Victor Sir embodied the characteristics of the village school master portrayed by Oliver Goldsmith. And I quote, "And still they gazed, and still the wonder grew, that one small head could carry all he knew." Thank you, Victor Sir, for being an exemplary figure, a guiding light, and a pillar of our community. May your spirit continue to inspire us and to carry on your legacy. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, 𝗖𝗛𝗢𝗧. I now invite Dr. K.S. Sajani, TOK Coordinator and Co-Head of the English Department.
Thank you, senior management. It's one of the most wonderful gestures to name this auditorium after Victor Sir. The second great gesture is bringing Noel here to commemorate Sir and the auditorium. And I'm really grateful to ma'am, Mr. Jacob and Miss Sarah for this gesture. A lot of my points of my speech are going to repeat what Kalyan said. Welcome all of you, by the way, Noel, Tess, kids, Shiv Santosh, and Arun, all our kids. They are my students. And Anila and Kalyan, it's lovely to have you back. And what I speak now is not my words alone. It is words of every single teacher who has worked with Victor Sir. I would not have been here had Victor Sir not been there in the interview board, because he identified that I could deal with the language somewhat, I could be sincere to my profession, and I could also stay put in a place which was very difficult to stay in. Those days, teachers, our lives were much, much more difficult than these are now. You know, you won't know it unless you live that life. But it was Mr. Victor Sir, as we called him, who made it so, so very smooth. I'll begin at the beginning. So, as I said, I wouldn't have been here had he not been there. The second thing is, ISC would not have been there had he not been there. IGCSC would not have been there had he not been there. And IB would not have been there had he not been there. Because our principal had to just say he was traveling those days for the sake of Rotary. And he would just pick up a phone and tell Mr. Victor, I want to start this off. And he would start it off with no questions and with a whole lot of trust in all of us. That's what Kalyan also said, that our loyalty to the school comes from our loyalty to Victor Sir and his trust in us. I was a shy person hiding behind doors, you know, when guests came at home. And he made me the speaker. He gave me the prefect's oath to make the students deliver the oath, and I did that for years together. Monica and I did the Founders' Day for years together. And that is because of the trust that he had in us. The second thing that I want to say is about his knowledge. Again, Kalyan, you mentioned it. But it was not only literature, it was not only music. He could quote offhand from science books, encyclopedia. And so it's not a coincidence that he was our first TOK teacher. No? And he didn't need any kind of preparation. He would just go into a class, whether it was Old Man of the Sea or a TOK lesson. He would just talk, and it was just great listening to him, as evidenced by the students who spoke about it later. It's not that I didn't sit through in any of his classes, but it's the students who said that this was what Victor Sir's classes were like. The third point, I think the most important for the people who are our background, our backdrop in the school. I don't know if you've noticed those 𝗔𝗕𝗓𝗓s and annas, whom you call them. They are, we just pass by them as though they are walls of a structure, but it is he who noticed them. The payday comes and they are all swarming outside his office in Fernhill. And his pay goes out to them. He listens to a sad story of one worker or the other, and it is all gone. And I'm sure the family knows this well. Victor Sir's wife was the support at that time, definitely, because he was so generous with his own salary and he gave it all away. And so I have more to tell you. If I have a PhD again, it's because he kept questioning me, not that he guided me through the essay, but definitely he prodded me and said, what are you working on now? Are you going ahead and doing it? He was that kind of a person. And he knew each and every single, we were 1,300 students those days. And he knew each and every single student, not just the student's strengths and weakness, their parents, their siblings, and he would question each one about them. That's the kind of man that we are talking about. And we are here doing whatever we are doing because of that kind of a person. And I owe it all to him. If I'm standing here and speaking in front of you, it's definitely from the heart. And I owe it all to him. And of course, when Noel walked in, it was with tears that I saw him here, because it is more than well-deserved that we have such a ceremony. And I really thank the management for doing such a thing. And I could go on and on, can't speak forever, so I stop here. Thank you very much for your patient listening. And for the 12th standards who came across the word halo effect recently, we are not creating a halo effect. He really deserves the halo that we give him. Thank you, everybody.
We next have the Examinations Officer and Senior Member of the Mathematics Department, Mr. 𝗖𝗛𝗔𝗡𝗘𝗟, to share his thoughts.
Good afternoon, all. Victor Sir was a housemaster of Autumn House when I started at GSPS. He later rose to the position of Deputy Headmaster and Headmaster. Sir used to play the mouth organ on Children's Day, as I can still recall. He was a musician who was skilled in a variety of instruments, including piano, brass and pipe bands, guitar, and others. He used to instruct the band in band formation and tunes during Founders Day practice. He was fluent in variety of languages, including Kannada, Malayalam, Tamil, Hindu, and Telugu. Victor Sir has one trait that we all find particularly admirable. He has provided financial aid for many underprivileged families to attend college, get married, and receive medical care. He remembers each and every student's roll number, his or his sibling details, place from where they come, etc. In our school, we received instruction from the Victor Sir on how to administrate both internal and external examinations. He called me one day and said, Bhaskar, you are going to take an ICSE 9th chemistry class this year. I felt stunned. Since mathematics is my major, it will be extremely challenging for me to teach chemistry. He then said, you can learn and teach. Then I acquired knowledge and succeeded in teaching chemistry. I bring this up because he was someone who continuously inspired and motivated everyone around him. He was a great inspiration to all the teachers. He was a kind person who never hurt anyone. He worked around the clock. We all miss him much. I'm confident that we all remember his efforts, success, guidance, hard work, etc. Finally, we should express our gratitude to Ma'am, Liju Sir, and Sarah Ma'am for giving this auditorium the name Selvin Hall. Thank you very much for your attention.
We next have the coordinator of IBDP and HSS, Mr. 𝗔𝗕𝗢𝗡𝗘𝗟.
Good morning, everyone. I'm just touching instances or examples where others were already covered, but I'm not going to touch that part. Whatever I felt, it'll help us in understanding the characteristics of especially Victor Selvin. When we joined Good Shepherd in 1997, Victor Selvin was there as an observer for our classes, both me and Deepa. And after attending our interview, he took us to his office. We actually came on, I can still remember the date also, May 2nd, 1997. And 10:30 was the demo class, and after that he took us to his office. Santosh Kanawali was there, as well as Matthew Joseph was there. We were wondering whether we were selected or not. We don't know anything about that. And he called stationery in charge, I think, Deepa will remember, and telling me to collect books for me, they gave me Form 4, which I don't know what is Form 4 itself that time. And then ICSE, no. Form 4 actually is IGCSE, but why they named it as Form 4, I don't know. So Form 4 and ICSE both were given. And he's asking the stationery in charge to give those textbooks and specimen books to me that day itself, so that I can go through and come back in July when I come for the. Then I understood, sir, why you're giving this? I asked him. He told, you're already selected, but I wanted you to have these books, so that will help you to prepare for those subjects when you come in July. And that impressed us when we came there without even telling whether we are selected or not. That is the first instance when I came to Good Shepherd. The second one, escort everyone told, because I also, as soon as I joined, they put me in Chennai, Bangalore, and then Mumbai, and finally Mumbai I was going continuously for 10 years, from 1998 to 2008, 4 times in a year, for all the closings and openings. Once when I went to Mumbai in the year, I think 2001 or 2, when I came back, I fell ill and I was having fever. I was admitted in that time one small hospital was there in Fernal. I was admitted. 2 days I was there in the hospital, and I don't know whether I have to apply leave and all those procedures. I am not sure. So I just filled one application form. One form will be the template. I filled it and went to his office on the 3rd day, and then my leave letter, I gave it to him. Then in that, it's written fever. That's all. I never wrote anything in that. Fever, I wrote these 2 days. Then after seeing that leave letter, he asked me, what happened? He asked. I told, I came from Mumbai, but I don't know, somehow I got this fever. And as soon as I reached here, doctor advised me to get admitted, I told. Immediately, in front of me, he teared that leave letter and put it into the dustbin. And he told me that it's official, you went on official duty, it is not necessary to apply for leave. That is the second incident. Third one, which I still could not forget, is usually during those days when we go for IOIP projects, IOIP as a residential project, the students have to go to Gudlur farm as a part of it For 3 days, they have to stay. I joined in 97. In 97, that November month, they planned for a trip for grade 10 students. And I need to accompany them to Gudlur farm. I thought it's 66 kilometers, Gudlur, and then it is a nice opportunity for me to go. Then when they all assembled near the gate, they told that the first 10 kilometers we have to walk. Then Victor Sir was standing next to me and telling, that is why I put you, so you need to walk 10 kilometers first. And after that, only the vehicle will come and pick you up, and then you can go to that. And somehow I managed around 7 to 8 kilometers. Milton was there. In the 8th kilometer, I was not able to walk further. Then the vehicle came and picked me up and all. And then next day I went and met him. I told, sir, why you put like that? Adventure means adventure. It's not that you can just go in a vehicle and land there. So all the staff has to do that with him. First we have to walk 10 kilometers, and after that only we have to go to Gudlur farm. I think we can revive like that, I think, so that some of us, we can lose our weight. That is one interesting thing which still I am remembering that. His style of functioning, especially, I used to tell Anila and Kalyan, even when we were there, we used to think when activities are happening. First term, especially from July to December, when we want to teach, when I was in any class, we will miss many of the students because most of the students will go for all the inter-school activities, competitions, because that time we were part of MRCs, we reviewed that, we renewed that. Majority of the students will not be there. We used to take special classes or remedial classes during the prep time. But when it comes to January, the second term, it is completely opposite. What you will do is, you will ensure that only tuitions and academics happens that time. That is from January to March and May. Maybe I think his strategy worked at that time because we used to produce very good results in ICSE. Even though the students, we had around Jacob would have remembered 6 to 7 sections of ICSE that time. Till F and G we had, and about 132 students in ICSE. Initially when we conduct an exam during that time, it will be, majority of them will fail in maths. But through miracles, through classes, through so many things, we used to produce many centums, many students above 90% in that March exam. It's like a competition for us that time. And all those are motivated to do like that by Victor Sir. And even got opportunity to teach some maths for Noel as well as Susan also during that time. He's a selfless person, as everyone told. And to me, as personally when I consider, because of him, I was able to take all the curricula. Started with ICSE and IGCSE when I joined. When I was about to master ICSE, changed to ISE 1 and ISE 2. Again, I was comfortable there, removed me and put in A levels, advanced subsidiary and A levels. AIC we had that time. Getting comfortable with that, removed me and again put in IBDP, mathematical methods. So many opportunities you will give us so that you will feel that you are challenged every minute. But that is a learning. And today, if I'm standing here and if I'm able to understand all these curricula is because of Victor Sir. I owe it to him. Another thing is for selfless person, I can say, we are going for authorization for IB 2001. We need to submit all the documents, but the mandatory requirement is 4 representatives from Good Shepherd need to attend the regional conference. That's a mandatory requirement. Usually it should be Victor Sir has to attend, and maybe a principal, or maybe anyone who is in the senior management or academic council, like that. We are ordinary people that time, and we were just teaching classes. And the next day, he's calling me and telling, he called me, Bhaskar Sir, Kalyan, and Ajit P. Jacob, who was not here. All 4 of us, he told us, you need to go to Shanghai. You need to attend the regional conference there. Then we're telling, sir, for what purpose? This is for authorization purpose. You need to go. Sir, you have to go, sir, because you are the one who is forming or documenting all that. No, each one of you in different areas, so only you understand, then it will be easy for the school community, he told. And he sent us in 2001, Kalyan sir will remember, I think, to Shanghai, and we stayed there for nearly 5 days. And that's the first trip outside India for me, especially, and which is given by Victor Sir. One important word he uses every time, I think those who worked with him will know, I wanted to repeat that, where he will use it. Of course, as Kalyan told, with the Coke bottle. He will be with the Coke bottle in the field, especially in the open-air stadium. Nobody can escape from him if you play music wrongly, because whether you're playing a saxophone or whether you're in the drums, whatever may be it, he can easily find out with that Coke bottle standing on the podium there. And suddenly he'll come walking with his Coke bottle. There will be many teachers standing behind the houses. Now also you can see when there is a parade, there will be many of us will be standing. Many of us will be standing simply without doing any work. You'll notice that. He'll come to us, you fellows, you are ceremonial spectators, he'll tell. Ceremonial spectators. Noel will remember that. We will be wondering whether he is scolding the students or us, we don't know, because he is looking at us with the Coke bottle and telling that word. Then we realize the second time, if we are standing idle, you'll come and use that same word. So we used to do left, right, like that we'll be doing something, then you'll be fine. So why I'm telling that is how important is that wherever you are, you have to play your role in that place. That he made us to do that with that one word, ceremonial spectators. I have written that word and I used that as sometimes I used it as a password. Now I'm not using it. And it's really a very good tenure we had with Victor Selvin. And I must thank now Madam, Jacob and Sarah for conducting an assembly like this for Victor Sir. And I become emotional when the video was shown. And I asked Anila, why you are not speaking? She told she'll cry, that's why she doesn't want to speak. And somehow I managed not to cry because it's my, what is that? If I am here because of him, that's. Thank you very much.
I now call upon Mr. Noel Philip to share his views.
Awesome. It's so good to be here. I'll be very honest. Just the school prayer, the school song, it's just so good to listen and sing. It's the same tune. I remember playing the keyboard for the school song back in school. So anyways, and yeah, so Miss Rekha, she was my class teacher. I'm sure she has some really good stories of a lot of shenanigans. Maybe that's for another time. So, Dad. I love my dad. You know, when people ask me who's my inspiration, without hesitation, I always say it's my dad and my mom. You know, a big part of who I am today, without a doubt, it's because of their hard work, their values, their faith, and their sacrifice. So, I have some fun memories of Dad. And I'd like to start with a couple. So back in the late 90s, there was this style where you wore your jeans. It was baggy and you would sag it, right? So how much you sagged was depended on how cool you wanted to be, and to an extent, you know, Newton's law of gravity, right? So yeah, it's really embarrassing right now, but so I took on this passing fad, you know, baggy jeans, wearing it below my waist. So one day, it was after tea. I'm sagging my jeans, you know, living the dream life, cool as a cucumber. And my dad passes by. He was the headmaster of the school. Oh, you should have seen the look of horror mixed with absolute disgust. And he said, "Pull those jeans up, you silly goose." And that was the end of baggy jeans for me. So I now go only for skinny, tight jeans. My dad loved music. He often worked with music in the background, and it was usually the more classical, soft, you know, the hymnal sort, you know. And anyways, I was 11, the year 1996. I got this cassette tape of a band called Petra. And this is way before Spotify and YouTube Music and Apple Music. It's even before Blu-rays, DVDs, CDs. So it's a really, really long time ago. So back then, if you wanted to listen to music, you needed cassette tapes. So anyways, Petra. So they are this rock band. Think of guys with long hair that's probably not been shampooed in like a couple of months. Shiny guitars, shiny trousers, and drum sets with a ridiculous number of cymbals. However, their lyrics they were clean, they were good. I loved it. My dad hated it. I would turn the volume up, my dad would turn the volume down. He would go on rants. He would say the music was terrible, it was uncivil, it lacked quality. Years later, I came back home from university and I found my dad had fallen in love with Petra, especially the guitar riffs. It was a wonderful moment of connection. So last week when I was asked to speak, I was like, what would Dad do? Or in other words, what would Dad say? And this is for the students, really. He would speak to you and say something that would encourage and uplift you. So I'd like to share 3 life lessons that I've learned from my dad, and I'd like to pass them on to you. And I hope they really inspire you. So my dad once told me, he said, live a life that makes a difference in somebody's life. And that really stuck with me. So what could this really mean for you as kids? It could mean be a good friend, respect one another. Take an active interest in connecting with someone who's different from you. Show compassion. Be generous with your time. Do the right thing, even if you're the only one. My sister and I, we were going through photos of my dad, and we came across one where he was standing next to a family whose daughter was graduating. We asked our mom who she was, and mom said she was a girl who, due to circumstances, didn't have the means to go to university, and dad had paid for her education. My dad believed in investing in others, especially through education. Second life lesson, cultivate a love for reading. Dr. Seuss says, the more that you read, the more things you will know. The more that you learn, the more places you'll go. From our earliest years as kids, we spent a lot of time reading. My dad loved reading, and he modeled that for my sister and I. He would sit with us and he would read for us. I still remember my dad reading us an abridged version of the story Black Beauty, and I was around 6 years old. Reading, it stimulates your imagination. It makes you empathetic. It's therapeutic. It opens up your worldview and perspective. George R.R. Martin says, a reader lives 1,000 lives. The man who never reads lives only one. My dad didn't have much of an opportunity to travel physically, but he did so through books. So I really encourage you, if you haven't yet, head to the library and fill out those library cards. If you still have those. Lastly, it's sort of connected to my first point. Dream and live a life that's bigger than yourself, irrespective of what career or profession you choose. It really starts with recognizing that there's greatness in you. And I'll say that again. There is greatness in each one of you. You are unique, and there's limitless potential within you. No matter what anyone has said in the past, I want you to believe that. The world, it needs leaders. The world needs good politicians and good policymakers. The world needs leaders who can advocate for the rights of people, leaders who can advocate for the environment and the world we live in, leaders in technology and education and finance, artists, creators, entrepreneurs. This is just to name a few. Living a big life it doesn't mean it's a perfect life. It's risky. It's sometimes unpopular. It's often messy. It means making mistakes and learning from those mistakes. It could mean standing out from the crowd and swimming against the current. My dad, he got a lot of things right, but he also got a lot of things wrong, and that's perfectly okay. That's what makes us human. One of the people I listen to, Pastor Brian, he says, the best is yet to come. He also says something along the lines of, the greatest songs haven't been sung yet. The greatest books haven't been written yet. And I'd like to add, the greatest movies haven't been created yet. The greatest discoveries and inventions haven't been made yet. The greatest advancements in science haven't been made yet. And you can be the start of something incredible. In closing, I'd really like to thank you for having me and my family. It's an honor to be here, to stand in a position similar to where Dad would have stood a couple decades ago. It's nothing short of but a huge privilege. Thank you for also commemorating this place in Dad's honor. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you, Mr. Jacob and Ms. Sarah. We are forever grateful. Thank you very much.
It is time now for the official commemoration of this auditorium as Selvin Hall. I invite Mr. 𝗔𝗕𝗡𝗘𝗟 to the stage.
To me, Mr. Victor was like a second father. I have spent countless hours in his office, countless. And as each and every person who spoke this morning has recounted, he was an inspiration. And as Noel said, he uplifted people, he encouraged people. And I think at a time in my life when that is exactly what I needed, that is who Mr. Selvin was to me. And that is something I will never forget. I think when all of you look back in your lives, you're going to find that the people who make the greatest impact on your lives, the ones whose memories will stay with you throughout your lives, will be people like Mr. Victor Selvin. I got to know him first as a teacher, and I think my love for literature is because I can attribute that 100% to Mr. Victor Selvin. Today I can barely write with my hands because I've lost my penmanship. But back when I used to be a student like all of you, I literally imitated his handwriting because he had such wonderful penmanship. And as everyone here has spoken about him, these were his amazing qualities. Somebody who was deeply, deeply devoted to what he did. I think he was born to be a teacher. Even though he took on the mantle of an administrator, he never stopped teaching. I think that was just who he was. Was he tough? Yes, he was extremely tough. Let me tell you, he was one of the toughest teachers I ever knew in my life. But such an amazing man. And I think his most endearing quality above all else is how selfless he was. Incredibly selfless. A man who gained so much in his life, but literally everything material that he ever possessed in his life, he gave away. That is what I remember about him. I remember even the last time I met him, by the way, my relationship with him extended far beyond the campus of GSIS. I knew him for so many years, way beyond the time that I was a student. And every time I met him, every time I saw him, every time I visited him, I mean, you could see that in his eyes. He had never changed as a man. He was humble. He was simple. And I think those were the things that anyone who met him, that's what you would know about him. But he was also an incredibly passionate teacher. And I think, like everybody said, he knew everybody. He knew every little detail about every student. And I think by far, I should mention, right? I mean, not just as a teacher to students, but he was a teacher to teachers, right? All of you, I think, every one of you who's sitting here who spoke about him or remember him, I think that's what you remember about him, right? I think he was either a teacher or a father figure to you. That's who he was. And those are things that I will never forget about Mr. Victor Selvin. I'm so incredibly grateful for the years that he spent here at GSIS. I'm so incredibly grateful to him for so many things that today GSIS is known for, right? Whether it's our academic program, the things we do in our co-curricular programs, in sports, all the different curriculums we have, all that can be attributed to one man, and that is Mr. Victor Selvin. I'm incredibly privileged to be in a position to honor him and to remember him, and I think it is very important we remember the people who touched our lives. We remember those who have lifted us out of the depths that we were, and I think, I know you're all very young today, but that is life, right? Life is an amazing teacher as well, and I think you need people like Mr. Victor to be there with you, to help you through those moments. And if you haven't already sought out a mentor in your life, I very much encourage you to do that. And to me, that's who he was. He was a mentor, and above all else, I think he was an incredible friend. It's so many words of wisdom that he spoke to me, and in fact, I would say so many of those things that he said to me when I spent many long hours in his office, I don't think I really understood at that point why he said those things to me. In fact, no one had ever spoken to me like that, the way that he did. Nobody. Only Mr. Victor did. And today when I look back at, and by the way, I remember him, and I've talked to my wife so much about my conversations with Mr. Victor Selvin, and the many hours I spent with him. But today when I look back and I play those words again in my mind and I listen to what he had said, they have a completely different meaning. And that tells me how much he knew me as a person, that he knew what I needed to hear. He knew how to encourage me. He knew how to give me the strength that I did not have, that I needed. That's who Mr. Victor Selvin was. Thank you to each and every one of you who spoke today. Thank you for remembering all his amazing qualities, the amazing impacts he made both on your lives personally, but most important of all, on this institution. Like I said, many of you don't remember him, but I hope the words you've heard today give you some meaning and connection to this great man who was a part of our lives. And it is truly my honor to commemorate this building to Mr. Victor Selvin. Noel, thank you so much for being here today. Thank you so much. I know I reached out to you many times, and we named this building Selvin Hall a long, long time ago. I don't think anyone here really, many of you may not have known who Mr. Victor Selvin is or why this building is named Selvin Hall. But that is exactly why we needed to name it Selvin Hall, so that we never forgot this great man. Thank you all so much.
On behalf of the entire school community, I would like to thank Ma'am Mrs. 𝗖𝗛𝗢𝗧, Mr. 𝗔𝗕𝗢𝗧, Mrs. Sarah Jacob for this distinguished and notable act of respect, recognition, appreciation, and gratitude. I would also like to thank everyone who worked behind the scenes for this assembly. A big thank you to Mr. Arun Kumar and Mr. Sivasantosh for your presence. A special mention to 𝗪𝗪𝗓 and 𝗪𝗪𝗓 for your time and presence in making this day memorable. Thank you. Please rise for the school anthem.